Hey everyone! We are living in some crazy times right now, and I just wanted to bring you some encouragement, maybe a challenge, but mostly just an encouragement from the Lord that no matter what is going on, that we are not supposed to shrink back, to become paralyzed by our fear or our anxiety, but to continue pressing forward, to continue trusting in the God who knows all things and is in control of all things, that the plans that He has for us are not derailed or somehow taken off course because of what's happening in the world. Several years ago, I worked at a therapeutic group home for foster kids, and I worked in the little kid cottage, so our kids were 6 to 12 years old, and the majority of them had pretty severe behavior issues, so much so that they could not be in a traditional foster home situation. One of the things that we used, essentially timeout, but we didn't call it timeout, and it was the blue chair. And so if whether it was a kid who was getting out of control and needed some quiet regrouping time because of exhibiting negative behaviors, or something like kind of proactive that we as staff could see, ooh, this kid's getting a little overstimulated, a little bit frustrated, and could use some time to themselves, we would say that their direction was to the blue chair. And it didn't matter how long it took a kid to get there. If the direction that was given to them was to the blue chair, that direction remained until they had complied with it. Some kids, you could just give them that direction, like, hey Susie, your direction right now is to the blue chair. And they would go, quick, compliant, sit there until it seemed like they were calmed down, and then they could rejoin the rest of the community and whatever it was that we were doing. But some kids could take a really long time to get themselves to the blue chair. So you might be kind of doing an activity with a group of kids, and you'd see this kid who was kind of like not with the rest of the group, maybe wandering, maybe frustrated, maybe saying stuff they shouldn't be saying, being inappropriate, being aggressive, whatever. And you say to the other staff, like, well, what is Johnny's direction right now? And you would often hear the phrase or something like it, like, the direction is still to the blue chair. They just needed to be reminded, like, it doesn't matter what your response is to this situation, your direction is the same. Your direction is still to the blue chair. I get the sense that God is wanting to remind us our direction is the same. That our direction is still to love people well. That our direction is still to trust Him. That if there are specific things that He has been walking out in your life prior to the world chaos, this global pandemic, that your direction is still the same. That it doesn't matter what your response to what's going on right now is. Your direction is still the same. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't get to be anxious, or that there's somehow supposed to be this like blind faith or blind trust and just do what God says just because, right? He gave us a brain, but part of that is just this encouragement or reminder to you, don't get stuck, don't get off track, and know that even when you do, right? Even if you're in a place right now where you feel gripped by anxiety and you are struggling to get yourself to the blue chair or whatever direction He has given you, that is not going to change His direction for you. That your challenge to follow through right now, your humanness, our humanness, to be fearful or anxious or irritable or want to take things into our own hands because we don't have a lot of control of what's happening. That doesn't alter who God is. I'm also grateful that me kind of throwing a hissy fit about what's happening in my own life doesn't take me out of the game. Because we can become paralyzed by our anxiety or our fear, but we can also turn inward and kind of have a pity party about how life is so hard, or life is not fair, or the plans that I have are not happening the way that I wanted them to. Right? The specific plans and specific promises that He's given to you and to me, those don't change just because of my throwing a fit. Now they may take a while, if just like with those kids, if we said your direction is to the blue chair and we wanted them to be able to calm down, and then we had a great activity planned for that afternoon, if it takes them 5 hours to get to the blue chair, we might not have time for that activity in the afternoon. They may have spent and wasted all their time walking around, throwing a fit, being off track. So the direction doesn't change, but our response to the direction plays a part in the outcome. So again, that's not to say that we just get to be over here and do whatever, and God just like lovingly and patiently waits for us to catch up, and then we get all these amazing blessings that He had. Like, there is still ownership that we have in that process. While we can't upend His plans, we still have free will, and our free will plays a part in what our life looks like. So let's not get off track. Let's just run full speed at that direction that He's given you. If you need to be off track for a little bit because you're feeling anxious or you're feeling disappointed, or that's okay. But don't allow yourself to be so off track and so over here in this other place that you miss out on what else God has for you if you just followed His direction. Because again, the direction isn't changing. Press in, trust in who He is, but don't allow the circumstances of what we're walking through or our response to those circumstances, don't allow them to get you off track from pursuing the things of God, because He loves you and He has a plan for you if you will take hold of it.